The generations growing up today, those in their teenage years and their 20s, all age groups, but I mean the ones that are still earlier on that are still kind of, not that you can't change direction or change shape, but the earlier you start, the better, of course. Great question. Uh, I've hired, mentored many people over the years. Early in my career, I would have looked at someone's resume. Now, I look at their attitude. This problem solving mindset, or engineering mindset, as some people call it, um, was greatly influenced, inspired by.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vibe It Up, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of tech. I'm your host, Dan Tudorache, and I bring over 20 years of experience in the software development and tech industry, wearing multiple hats as a solution architect, leadership coach, trainer, and now as a psychologist too. So, you might be wondering, what's the vibe all about? Well, the vibe is about the people. The people from this industry which are creating the value, which are creating the new loans. So, I have with me today Matt Rebeiro. Welcome, Matt. I will let you present yourself.
Hi, Dan. Thanks. So, Dan, I'm the Tribrid advisor. I specialize in helping companies with technology, operations, and product related opportunities within their companies. And specifically within those three areas, technology, operations, and product, I subspecialize in AI powered automation within the technology pillar, process design and optimization within the operations pillar, and lastly, product design and development within the product sphere. Collectively, I have about 20 years of experience ranging from startup to scale up to enterprise. I've worked for multiple Fortune 500 companies, some of the largest financial institutions in the world. I've worked in product roles, development roles. I've worked in sales and operations. There's very few areas within an org chart that I haven't been in over the years. Um, More recently, I have my own company, the Process Design Institute, or PDI for short. And it's under that banner that I help out many businesses today. I love solving problems. And when people talk about problems or challenges, they often talk about people, process, and technology. That comes up a lot. Let's talk about the people, the process, and the technology aspects. And I find 9 out of 10 times people say they have a technology problem or a people problem, and 9 out of 10 times it's a process problem. Back in the day, I decided to specialize in a niche area of project management called Lean Six Sigma in the industry, but it's fundamentally process design and optimization. And it allows me to see different processes, different areas of a business from a process perspective, and understand at what point in their processes is something failing, friction starting, and that pain permeates not just through their employees, but to their end clients. So that's what I do, Dan. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Well, yeah, that's true. And I remember that only in the organizational development we have two roles. The one is the process which we are using and have in place for developing the, I don't know, the products and everything. And the one is the behaviors and the humans, right? So behaviors and humans apply processes, and if they don't apply processes, then the problem is in people. Right? And if they don't have processes, then the problem is processes.
Yeah, and many companies, they'll have processes, and they'll often not know what the processes are. And so when
Okay.
I say, let's look at what your current state is, like, what does today look like from a process perspective?
Mm.
I'm going to get not one answer, but four, and I'm going to seek all four out. The first is the current state process from what the leadership thinks is happening.
Right.
Emphasis on thinks. The second current state I'm looking for and I'll get is what your documentation says you should be doing. The third piece or current state is what the employees say they're doing. And the fourth and most important that I'm interested in is what's actually happening.
Yes, what they are doing.
Yes. And that's why you'll hear me when I speak to companies and leaders and teams. I'll first and foremost say, I want to talk to a subject matter expert, a SME, the person that's actually doing the work. I want to not just hear what they're doing, I want to see what they're doing. And in seeing what they're doing, I'll be able to better help them and your broader teams and companies identify how we move forward from there.
Yeah, definitely. So we identify behaviors and actions and what they are doing, and after that we write again the processes if there's the case.
Absolutely. The old expression, seeing is believing. It's funny. There was a recent piece of, I think it was a post or a news online, and someone was referencing an interview with Jeff Bezos, the former CEO of Amazon. And Jeff was describing a scenario where he was in a board meeting, and they said, "Hey, look, the numbers look good, the data looks good, customers are happy with the contact centers at Amazon." And Jeff says, "Really?" They said, "Yeah, look at the numbers, they look great." He goes, "Tell you what, 1 second," pulls out his phone. "I'm going to call the contact center right now." And he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And they're looking at the report. He goes, "My phone's telling me that something's up because this number on this report says my call should have been picked up by now. And it wasn't."
Right.
So he was essentially going to where the action takes place. He's going to experience it. He's like, data's good.
Hmm.
Let's fact check.
But the reality is different than data.
Absolutely.
Right, and I've seen that that episode with Lex Friedman, and it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. We watched the same one.
Right, right. Matt, could you share a bit about your background and journey into this tech world up to the current position or company
Certainly.
business?
Uh, so a long time ago, not in a galaxy far, far away, but at a company not so far away, I started off in a sales role. And so I was selling insurance products, car insurance and house insurance, and all the things that come with it, whether it's an ATV or a motorcycle, insuring the things or protecting the things that matter most to people. And I love that job, met a lot of great people. And I realized that I could do more. I wanted to do more. And so instead of just selling insurance, I decided I was going to come up with a better process for selling insurance. And I took that process and I tested it and I standardized it, meaning I did the same thing every time and produced the same results. And then I said to myself, well, how do I create scale with this? I do it the same way, I get the same results, but how do I share that success with a broader audience? And so I offered to train other people on the sales process I was following. The company I worked for at the time accepted, and I rolled out a national training program for all the people doing what I do. Had a lot of fun doing it, learned a lot. And then I said to myself, let's try something new again. I like fixing things, not necessarily something that's broken, but I like improving things. I like making them better. And if I don't, if I don't have a challenge in front of me, I go seeking one out, right? I have an appetite to tackle things. And so I moved from purely sales into how do I enhance the experience in the complaints department. It wasn't called complaints department, that's effectively it. So when customers aren't happy, they need to call someone and they need help, right? And many people don't aspire to work in a complaints department. I mean, it's a great job, but it can be high stress, right? Because you're speaking to people who are typically upset, unhappy, sometimes angry, sometimes they use very colorful, passionate language, and being able to separate yourself and say, they're not talking to me. They're not calling me names. It's frustration over a situation that takes thick skin. Now, I've got a reputation for I can roll with the punches. So I've always been competitive sports and martial arts growing up, and I've physically, literally taken pucks and balls to the body, to the head, basketballs and baseballs and footballs, punches and kicks, bruises and broken things and sprained things. So I can literally and figuratively roll with the punches, and it's made me stronger in the business world. And so I've always had a reputation, still do today, is I don't get phased, right? Someone could be angry, upset, happy, elated. They're going to have the same focus from me, regardless of how they're responding, whether it's rationally or irrationally, logically or emotionally. And so I thrived in this complaints department. And not only did I help out clients, but I started to use that department as a source for inbound leads. A source for inbound leads. People who were unhappy became one of my primary sources for inbound leads. When you think about it, everyone's like, wait a second, you're selling to people who are unhappy? I'm like, they're not unhappy with me. They're unhappy with the scenario, the experience they had. And that was rooted in a process that needed mending. And so if I could find out where the piece broke down, not only could I help them, but I could help make sure it doesn't happen to other people. And so I'd offer the clients to say, hey, look, I understand your frustration. I'd empathize with them. I would let them get things off their mind. And then I would say, hey, look, if I can not only solve this, but make you better than you were before you had this experience, would you consider bringing more business to me? Right? I'd always ask the question. And they'd say, yeah, but I don't think you can do it. I love a good challenge. And so that's exactly what I did is I aimed to not only keep their business and or bring their business back, but grow their business. And I had fun doing that. And then I wanted a new challenge. And so we went from sales to retention or customer satisfaction, complaints, there's different names for it, quality. And then we went into outbound, that scary space in sales. Everyone's like, oh, outbound calls, cold calling, talking to people. Hey, who are you? Why are you calling my phone? And it's only gotten harder over the years, not easier, right? But it still wasn't easy back then. And I volunteered and said, I would love to do this. And they said, you want to go and call people proactively and sell them things? Yeah, that's what I want to do. And I want to work with a team of people that we all have a similar mindset where we get excited about a challenge like this. So let's build out this team and let's curate a specific lead list of individuals that we believe will be open to listening to our calls. So let's have a brainstorming session about what's the ideal profile of a client that would be receptive to this. And so I sat down with my peers. I said, let's talk about it. And we narrowed it down and we created our own lead list together. Like, again, coming back to the SMEs, the people who are doing it every day, we know what works. We know who's more likely to buy or not buy and buy certain things. So instead of going out to, experts in different places, let's put our heads together and make up our own lead lists, which typically salespeople don't do. Typically, salespeople get the lead lists. So I turned things on a dime and said, well, let's come up with our own lead list together. So we did that. And fun fact, in our outbound sales performance, we were exceeding the performance of the inbound sales teams. We were exceeding the performance of the inbound sales teams with our outbound sales team. Why? Process. We found a process for getting the results we wanted, and we standardized it. We repeated it. We were all on the same page. We did the same things in the same order. Everything from the introduction to the scripting to the hooks that people talk about on LinkedIn. You still have hooks, but they're on the phone. And we aligned ourselves on it, and we iterated and we improved. Today, people call it agile, about iterating, but I mean, back then it was just iterating. And we had fun, lots of fun. We had great success. But then we said, what's next? And then at that point, when I was looking for that what's next thing to tackle, an opportunity came up. This thing called Lean Six Sigma. I had no idea what Lean Six Sigma was. Lean Six Sigma, most people today listening to this probably maybe haven't heard of it or heard of it, and they've got some ideas, but it's not as popular. It's still around. It's very effective, but it's not like, a term like agile, for example, or design thinking, but it has survived the test of time. And essentially, it's a collection of tools, a structured framework for solving a problem from a process perspective. So of course it resonated with me, and I said, "You're launching a Lean Six Sigma program at this big company that I'm working for. I'm in. Teach me how to do that." And so there was two wonderful mentors who were rolling out the program who came in from outside the company I was working in, and they provided me with invaluable mentorship, coaching, guidance, training, some of the best I've ever had. And I still know those people today. I still respect them. I still trust them. If they're listening to this, they'll know exactly who they are. And they taught me everything that I know today about the foundations of designing and improving processes. We called it Lean Six Sigma, but designing and improving processes, making them better. Why? Ultimately, to make customers happier, right? You make a process better. The customers are the employees doing it. And if it's an outside facing process too, the customer's receiving the output from it. And so I made the resolution to not only learn it, but become an expert in designing processes. So I didn't do one certification. I did the same certification multiple times from different providers. And I'll give it credit. This was my mentor's idea, not mine. And I said, why would I take the same course more than once? Why would I take, it's not just a course, but it's a certification program more than once. It's like saying, hey, Dan, go get a Bachelor of Business Commerce degree 4 times. And you're like, what? Dan, go become an Agile certified Scrum Master 4 times. What? Why would I do that? Great answer. I know now, I didn't know back then. Every instructor, every facilitator has different experiences. We talk a lot about, it's not getting less popular. It's probably even more diversity and inclusion, but even of thought leadership diversity, right? So every instructor, every trainer, every expert, they have different life experiences, different academic backgrounds, different perspectives, different communication styles. And so although the core content was very close, similar, the delivery of it, the curation, the presentation of it, the examples were different. And so from each person who taught me, I learned something new. I learned some of the same things over again, but in new ways. And so I said, I am going to come up with my own version once I'm done with this, of the best process training, the best, in my opinion. And I'm going to take everything I learned from these people and reimagine what the best one would be, the most relatable, the most effective way. And I've actually trained companies on that. I did that at a charity a while back. And I came in pro bono. I rolled out a continuous improvement program for them, was what we called it. And I taught them all how to be project managers specializing in process. The old expression, teach someone or give someone a fish, you feed them for a day. Teach them the fish, you feed them for a lifetime. Well, I wanted to help a charity I was passionate about. And so I taught them how to improve their processes using these concepts from all the best pieces I learned from the multiple versions of the certifications. And I went on to do this at multiple financial institutions where I led teams of internal consultants to find processes that had opportunities to improve, and there always are. We don't aim for perfect, we aim for better, right? Continuous incremental improvement is what I say, right? So you're successful, even if, in the words of, some of the people on LinkedIn, Colby Cult Gen here on LinkedIn, always talks about 1% better. That's his thing, right? And this is something I've always believed in, is continuous incremental improvement. So if you're performing here, if you're 1% better or 5%, great, high five. Now are we done? No, we come back for round 2 or phase 2 or project 2 and another 5%. And we keep working towards better and don't work towards perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. It's too expensive, too costly, failure prone. You work for better. And so that was a constant theme that has and continues to permeate my entire career, is continuous incremental improvement. Let's work to make it better, right? And define what better is, right? And understanding where our starting point, we talked about earlier, what that current state baseline is. And so I went around standing up teams guiding those teams, leading those teams, creating pipelines of work within large companies and financial services to understand where the opportunities are and help make customer experiences better, make them more efficient, make them more effective. And I did that for a very long time. And then I ended up getting an opportunity to move into the startup world, learned more about startups, supported product, supported development, partnerships. You wear multiple hats to startup. Learned a lot. Got to work with a lot of great people. And I said, hey, everything I'm doing at enterprises is absolutely applicable in the startup world. Um, Even more so because they're they're growing so fast and they're assembling departments and functions and teams and spaces. Being able to understand process is a fundamental kind of building block of a successful company, like making sure there's standardized processes that are efficient, effective, processes for writing code, for deploying code, processes for designing and building products, processes for establishing partnerships and selling your product, all those things, right? And that's the string that kind of connects everything for me is process. I talk to a salesperson, we're talking process. I talk to ops, we're talking process. Tech, we're talking process. Product, we're talking process. And everyone goes, oh, okay, I begin to see where you're coming from, Matthew. And so that was the most recent piece. And about 2.5 years ago is when I started, back to the earlier part of our conversation, the Process Design Institute. And that was founded with the intention to share knowledge more about the importance of process and how it underpins all that we do, all sectors, all industries, all functional areas, all teams. You can't talk to me about business and not talk about process. Hence, Process Design Institute. And those areas I talked about as the tribrid advisor, tech ops, and product. Some of my areas I'm quite passionate about. And then we have it to us, talking today here on your podcast. So thanks for having me. And this is how I've not only come to my career, but come to speaking to you today.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I can see that you had from the beginning. I don't know since when this inclination to problem solving and fixing things and putting the all the pieces of the puzzle together to create something bigger. But in this journey you had, did you had some specific challenges or obstacles you faced early in your career?
I did, yes. So this problem solving mindset, or engineering mindset, as some people call it, um, was greatly influenced, inspired by my uncle, who uh, is not a public figure. So I won't say his name, but he's retired now, and he used to run a very successful engineering consultancy, and he specialized in multiple areas of engineering, not just one. And he has always had this engineering mindset. And very early on, before I was old enough to work, he and my father both taught me about having this problem solving mindset. My father was also a retired consultant, but specialized in finance, and his brother in engineering. And so they both fundamentally were fixers. They thrived in challenges, where most people get stressed or anxious when faced with a challenge. They would thrive in it, right? It's like their ideal working environment is the opposite of what most people's ideal working environments are. They're like, oh, it's not solvable? Count me in. It's really stressful. It must be a fun challenge to tackle. And so they very much had and still have a great influence on who I am and what I do and how I do it. Uh, some of the challenges that I had early in my career, they helped guide me through them. They helped me think through, even before I knew about Lean Six Sigma and process design and all this, that everything that I did, every challenge I was up against, you have to start with, what problem are you trying to solve? What problem are you trying to solve? If you don't know the problem you're trying to solve, you will spin and spin and spin. And it's amazing. I think back when I was early in my career, how often I was unknowingly trying to solve a problem and I didn't understand the problem I was trying to solve first. And so they would, and they still do when they talk, one of the first questions they ask me when we're chatting, what problem are you trying to solve? And their expectation, and mine is today when I work with people, is you either have or I help you get to a clear answer. Because if we don't have clarity in the problem you're trying to solve, and I go and solve something that's not the problem that you have in your mind, whether you could or couldn't articulate it, you're not going to be happy. So start with solving the problem. And that was a lesson I learned early on, but it required me to have experienced mentors helping to guide me on things like that. Say, start with the problem. And you'd be surprised how many people, regardless of the stage in their career, forget to start with the problem. They'll come up with solutions. Here's 15 solutions. Okay, what problem or problems are they fixing? Well, it's going to make this better. Okay, but who is experiencing a problem with it right now? You're starting a new company, right? I'll see this with, young developers. I got this really cool software I built. Great. What problem is it solving? What? What problem is your software solving and for whom? Well, it's really cool. Let me show it to you. Rewind. What problem is your software solving and for who? You need to know the answers to those questions. If you don't, I can help you get them. But you don't do anything else until you understand what problem are you solving and for whom. If you come back and say, "Oh, I've got the answer now. I have solved the problem for myself." Okay, well that's a good start. Is this going to solve a problem for anybody else though? Or is it just yourself? Oh, well, I don't know. Okay, we need to start there.
Indeed, indeed. And there are a lot of startups which are starting this way. I had a lot of acquaintances, colleagues that created a startup because they had vision and something like that, but they didn't knew the problem they're solving or the audience or something like that. And after that, they threw the project away because they couldn't monetize it. So, yeah, good perspective. Indeed, indeed, and that's a great perspective. So, looking at your journey, your career, and did you had some, I don't know, something to help you take better decisions in your journey? Because it seemed that you followed a well-known path or something like that, and you got everything set up for you. It was always like that.
I wouldn't say um, everything was set up for me or it was like a well known path. If you asked me 10 years ago where I was going, 10, 15 years ago, I couldn't tell you the answer to that question. I didn't have the clarity I did then that I do now. Um, no one laid anything out for me. I mean, I had support that I sought out, uh, but there was a lot of experimentation, trying different roles, trying different challenges, saying yes to a lot of opportunities, being open to a lot of opportunities, being open to learning things, even if at the time I didn't think they were in my wheelhouse or complementary or in my best interest. Just saying, okay, I'll give it a try. Sure, I'll try this out. I'll try this idea. I'll try this course out. I'll try your suggestion out. Um, that that mentality, that approach really helps me. Like just being open to saying yes more, exploring more. Um, that was really really advantageous for me. That type of mindset.
Mm, okay, and it seems that helped you also with decision making skills, right?
Yes, and you'll if you talk to a lot of people later on in their careers, they understand the value of surrounding themselves with people who help create a positive influence for them. So it's not my saying, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but You hear some variation of the 5 people that you spend the most time with has the greatest influence on you. I'm very cognizant of who I give my time to, and how I spend my time with them. And if someone is not having a positive influence, they don't get my time anymore. As early in my career, I probably I gave my time out to a lot more people than I probably should have. Now I'm more protective because I realize and appreciate that my most valuable resource is time. It's the one thing we all get the same amount of: 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Doesn't matter where you're born, doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. We all get the same amount of time, and it's our most valuable resource.
Mm. Yes, and I think that's a very, very good point of view perspective. You call it, but there are a lot of people that say um, that too many people that have made it and create a great career or business life or whatever it is, and they give advice to each other. You can do it, you can do it too, and they say no, you can't, because you have different I don't know, environment, different background, different trauma, different family, different money to live, and something like that. How do you think of that?
If I come back, I've talked a little bit about mindset on our call. The mindset you have is yours. You have the ability to control it. You can't control the world around you. You can't control what other people do. You can't control all the events around you, but you can control how you respond. You can control how you respond to people, how you respond to macro and microeconomic conditions, how you respond to events, how you respond to the person at the coffee shop who gets your order wrong, how you respond to the job you applied for and the person doesn't respond back, how you respond to a client you're trying to onboard who may not give you the answer you want. You can control your responses, and how you control your responses directly influences the continued mindset you have, whether that's going to be positive or negative. When you're also approached with a problem, you have a choice. You may not realize it, but we have choices. Now, we can choose to have what is called an expansive mindset, or we can choose to have what's called a reductive mindset. When we're children, we start off with an expansive mindset. What do I mean by expansive? We look at something like a cardboard box, we see a spaceship, we see a race car, we see a fort, a tent, right? Expansive, all the possibilities. There's not one right answer, there's many right answers. There's not one solution, there's many, right? So people with an expansive mindset embrace creativity. They're great at being creative and innovative. As we grow up, through influences, those people around us, our family, our friends, the school we choose to go to, the professors and teachers at the school, and not through anyone's fault, but just through many, whether it's Western or Eastern educational systems, unknowingly we get less expansive and more reductive. There's one answer to the problem on this test. There's one way to do an assignment. There's one way to succeed. There's one school you want to go to because it's the best. There's one company you want to work for because it's the best. There's one way to dress, one way to comb your hair, one way to talk to people. And through so many of those interactions, compounded over weeks and months and years, we become less expansive and more reductive. And we need to make a conscious effort if we want to reverse the conditioning we've done over all that period of time. I myself have also been a product of that, where I went from, an early childhood, an expansive mindset, reductive, reductive, reductive. And then thankfully I had people to nudge me back towards having an expansive mindset. And they gave me, they would talk to me, they would give me advice on people to speak to and people to meet and courses to take, books to read. to cultivate that expansive mindset and bring it back. We all have it. It's latent. It doesn't disappear. It just diminishes over time.
Mm, indeed. So no matter of the environment that we came from, no matter of the family or things like that, we can always choose a mentor to guide us, someone to be our, I don't know, um, light to see in the dark. or
Exactly. You're a Star Wars fan, you can go find your Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Indeed,
You
indeed.
know, everyone should have mentors, plural. Everyone. If you don't have one, go find one. If you have one, go get another. And after that, get another. Why? It's not the one person that you want to be the only influence on you. You want to have multiple people having an influence on you, right? And then you want to ask yourself, okay, from mentor A, from mentor B, from mentor C, what resonates with me? What do I like? What do I not like? And take that advice, the pieces of it, and like Lego pieces, build it into what's you, because you don't want to copy your mentors. That's not the idea. You're not going to be a clone, a replication of them. Some people might choose to do that or think that's what success is. A good mentor should not be trying to create another version of them. They should be trying to bring out the best in you. And that's a good sign of a mentor when they're speaking towards how you personalize your journey, how you make it your own. Well, you may learn from their examples and their choices. Maybe you choose similar paths or similar choices. Your way to success is not copying everything they did, right? And so, yes, absolutely get more than one mentor and continue to grow your network of mentors for different things, because everyone's got different skills, right? Like, am I going to be the best mentor to, someone who wants to learn to be a better runner? Are there things I could help them with? No, but are there running coaches that would do better at helping them run? Absolutely. So go get a running coach. And that runner, maybe they're having some problems, with confidence. Maybe there's a separate coach that's going to help them with that. That's better than the physical coach to help them running. And so, based on who you are and your goals and what you aspire to, you need to be mindful of getting people who are going to help you get to where you want to be. And oftentimes it's not one person, it's multiple people, because everyone brings something different to the table.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. And having multiple mentors, it's indeed very, very valuable. Different, and that's point me to another thing that I must um, very close to now, the ideas of emotional intelligence impact, skills impact in our lives, in our careers, and everything that we are doing. I'm not sure how it is, maybe in the western part it's more better, because this self trust, this self management, it's more educated in the early years of for the kids, but in the eastern um, part of the world it's not that well defined, done, and it's lacking. So how do you think on this approach to get more emotional intelligence skills for you to thrive in your life, in your career, in your relations network, and so on?
It's a great question. So 25 years ago would have been more difficult than it is today. The generations growing up today, those in their teenage years and their 20s, all age groups, but I mean the ones that are still earlier on, that are still kind of, not that you can't change direction or change shape, but the earlier you start, the better, of course. Uh, they have the advantage of the democratization of education. The democratization of education. What do I mean by that? The ways in which you can be educated on topics like, what is emotional intelligence? What does it mean? right? How do I learn more about it? How do I become more emotionally intelligent? And yes, you can. You can improve your EQ. Uh, Getting support answers to those questions, it's so easy now compared to in the past because of the online resources, not just paid, but there's a substantial amount of free online resources that can help you with it. Whether it's you're watching a TED talk or a podcast or uh, a live stream like this or a recorded stream or something on YouTube or LinkedIn, like there are so many options. And then people would say, well, there's so many options. Which one do I choose then? Because I don't know. I'm kind of paralyzed with options. Well, thankfully, there's also reviews, right? And so you can look at experts who will actually, you can look at testimonials and reviews and likes and upvotes and things like that on all these platforms. So if you've seen something where the speaker is someone who's credible, who's trustworthy, they had the experience, they are an authority to speak on something, and people like hearing them, enjoy them, get value from them, validate what they're saying, well, that's a good start, right? That external validation. So when there's a credible source and there's other credible sources validating that source, that's a good check mark in your head to say, it's okay listening to this person. I'm probably safe to listen to this person. Um, there's just so many resources. There's almost no excuse as long as you have an internet connection and access to a computer. You don't even need to have your own computer, right? As long as you have access to a computer and that computer has access to an internet connection, your excuses are gone. Um, so people are very fortunate now. You just, again, you need to think more like we talked about an expansive mindset. Don't think of all the reasons why you can't learn. Come up with all the ways in which you can. Oh, I don't have a computer. Fine. I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to go to my family member's house, my brother, my cousin, my friend. Oh, they don't have internet. I'll go to someone else's house who has internet. Like for every problem that you throw at yourself, I guarantee most people can come up with 3 solutions to every problem that they give themselves. They just need to acknowledge that they have not only the challenges or the problems, but the solutions to unlock them. Mindset.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. And speaking also on this EQ path, if you would have to build a new team, what will be the qualities of those people that you want to be surrounded with?
Great question. Uh, I've hired, mentored many, many people over the years. Early in my career, I would have looked at someone's resume. Now, I look at their attitude. I'm more interested in their attitude towards scenarios, situations, than their past experience solving them. Uh, Technical skills, many people I work with can be taught relatively easily and quickly. People with good soft skills, so are good speakers, good writers, who have a high EQ, who are mature, who think logically, who have things they're passionate about, who have enthusiasm, who are resourceful. You don't take a course on resourcefulness. You don't take a course on enthusiasm, right? Um, or what about grit? There's a great TED talk about grit by Angela Ducksworth. And a lot of people are like, oh, grit, what's grit? Listen to it. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing here. But people who have grit, passion, enthusiasm, grit is essentially like um, perseverance to push through problems, right? You don't give up easily. Those are the kind of qualities or attributes or characteristics that I look for in people. Everything else I need, I can teach them in relatively short order um, to be effective at a role, whether this includes like developer roles. Um, in my career, I have taught people who have no technical background how to produce technical solutions after I have hired them. People thought I was crazy, and I just put them through a boot camp, and I said, "They've got the right attitude." It's easier to take them and give them these technical skills than take someone with the technical skills but a bad attitude and try and change their attitude. It'll take me twice as long to change the attitude than it will be to transfer the skills to the person with the right attitude.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Great, great point of view. Yeah, thank you. And I have one quick question that I put to all my guests. If there is to be invited to a dinner with any figure from the tech industry, dead or alive, who it would be and why?
If I could have dinner with one person who's dead or alive, who would it be and why? Oh, there's a long list of people there. That's a tough one. You said one. I'll tell you, if I had two dinners, um, two dinners. Uh, One would be person dead, famous Greek philosopher Plato. Would love to sit down and have debates on a number of things with Plato. Big fan of all his writings. Alive, Anthony Robbins, or Tony Robbins as he goes by. I've been reading his books since I was very young. I've always felt very energized after hearing him speak, reading his words. I think he's a great speaker. I think he's great at what he does. He helps a lot of people. He's not only good at his kind of core trade, he's also very much someone who gives back to the community. Like he's a great corporate citizen with his charities. Love to sit down and have a chat with him. Who knows? Maybe at some point, since he is still alive, I might get a chance at some point in my life and career. Um, he's probably not listening to this or hear this, but maybe he would someday. We'll see.
Yes, thank you. And also on this note, there is one book or resource that significantly influenced your uh, career and professional life, also your life that you want to recommend.
Uh, Certainly, I won't give a business book per se. I'm going to go back with one of the books from the people that I want to have dinner with, which is Plato's The Republic. It's one of my favorite reads.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting one. And I never thought of someone from my guest list will name Plato as to go out with.
Oh, a lot of people probably say, "Oh, Sun Tzu, The Art of War," or Lean Startup, or they're all great books, uh, and I've read them and I like them. But if I had to pick one, the first one that comes to mind is the one I've read multiple times in hardcover. I still have it. It's probably about the book's older than I am. I think the book's like 60 years old. I have hardcover. You can smell the age on the pages; are kind of crisp and dusty. Love that. And it's the original translation without commentary. It was like an Encyclopedia Britannica special edition series. And my father gave it to me as a gift, which made it extra special.
Yeah. Awesome. That has also emotional
Sentimental value.
significance. Yes. Thank you. And I don't know if, as we prepare to close up, is there a particular piece of advice or insight you would like to leave with the audience?
Absolutely. So I know we've touched on quite a few things. If you forget everything from today, but it can only remember one thing, start with the problem that you're trying to solve. Professional development, personal development, business, startup, whatever it is, start with the problem. And you're going to realize a lot more success when you understand what problem you're solving before you try and do something.
Yes, great piece of advice. And finally, if you want to provide information on how our listeners can connect with you after the podcast, any social media profiles, websites, or other platforms you'd like to share,
Yeah,
you
best way
can
right now
do.
is through LinkedIn. You
Okay.
can send me a direct message.
Mhm.
I aim to respond to all of them. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer. So if you do send me one and you don't get a message right away, I haven't forgotten about you. I will get to you, but I do get to all the messages that sent to me.
Awesome, awesome. And yes, you can also send me in the comments to post it on our podcast script and post if you want. And yeah, that's a wrap for today's episode of Vibe It Up. I hope you enjoyed our insightful conversation with Matt. And before we go, I want to extend a big thank you to our guest for sharing his valuable experience and perspective. So, thank you, Matt. It
Thanks
was
for
a
your time,
pleasure.
Dan. Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And if you, our listeners, have been inspired or have burning questions after this episode, I encourage you to connect with us, with me, with Matt. You can find more about the Vibe It Up podcast on YouTube, LinkedIn, and you can ask us anything. So thank you and have a great day. Bye bye.